Today, I received an email from Scott, and he was wanting to know what can he do to bring his overall stress levels down on a daily and a cumulative basis. And this is a really good question for all of you guys to pay attention to as well. When we're looking at stress, I want you to think about preparation against stress. If you're sitting on the starting line and you're going to run 400 meters hurdles, I want you to think about having enough momentum that you can cross that finish line still at top speed. And that's how you need to approach stress. Most of us know what tomorrow looks like. For the most part, there's always those exceptions. But if you look at your daily, personal, professional, everything that you have to deal with, our days don't deviate too much. So when we come back to the subject of stress, especially if you're using the Garmin dashboard, you have a nice report that shows you what your cumulative stress is at the end of the day. It's denoted by this little gray dot. What you have to keep in mind is a lot of the stress is coming from a not so obvious area. When you talk about dealing with work, you think about people, you think about dealing with your interpersonal relationships, all the challenges that go with that, maybe your finances, and in our relationship here on YouTube, also your athletic side of things. Well, what is underneath all of those components of life? Sleep and food. Now, if you have followed me for any period of time, you know I talk about this subject quite a bit, but remember, these videos are coming from your emails and from your questions. So I wanted to come back to the idea of when you, if possibly, because I've heard people say that they've been told to use this as kind of a gauge, if you wait until you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Stress is going to be extremely high. If you wait until you're hungry, you have extremely low blood sugar levels. That's additional stress on the system. Now, when you start stacking these things on top of each other, let's say that you didn't get enough sleep last night coming into today. Stress, incomplete recovery. When you maybe you're too busy to eat breakfast, now you've gone 12 to 16 hours. Let's say you go to bed 10 o'clock at night, you wake up at 7, and then you get busy, you get to work, you get the children off to school. Next thing you know, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Well, there's 12 hours for you right there. So, no, I'm sorry, I said that incorrectly. If you had dinner at 6 p.m. and now you're not eating your first any form of food at, say, 10, 11 the next morning, see how quickly 16 hours can get by you? 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., there's 16 hours right there. Now, this is why I'm not a big fan of intermittent fasting, because I understand all the physiological adaptations that are a byproduct of fasting, but I think that the intermittent fasting needs to be implemented when somebody has already determined that they've got a low level of stress. Do you see how all these things stack on? And that's why I appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos on a daily basis. People will take things out of context. In Scott's situation, we found that based on his athletic background, he had been told you don't drink until you're thirsty. Well, that's like waiting till your red light on your temperature gauge on your car goes off to say, hey, the car's overheating. If you're doing the maintenance and you're making sure the radiator fluid is full, you're rotating, you're getting your oil change on a regular basis, then you pretty much don't wait until the red light goes off to say, okay, we need to make an adjustment. You be proactive. And I hope you see the parallel of the illustration. Every one of those hurdles that you have to overcome that fall in the category of stress, we want you to have the right knowledge and be proactive from the standpoint that you're able to clear every hurdle and you're able to cross that finish line as strong as you started. Now, let's come back to the Garmin dashboard and the evaluation of stress. My goal for my clients is to have a stress score less than 25 by the end of the day, and then to have the stress score average for the week be below 25. Because let's face it, some days you might have a circumstance or a situation that may have been out of your control. But if we look at the law of averages, our goal would be by the end of the week to have a stress score of 25. If you look at your Garmin dashboard and you're seeing that your average is above that, it's not a code red alarm. Just knowledge is power. Start to look at not just the superficial, personal, professional, financial, and athletic. I refer to those as the 4 quadrants of life. Look at yourself as a vehicle. Look at it from a straight mechanical standpoint. Are you eating enough food to go the distance? Are you eating the right kinds of food that doesn't cause any stress, GI distress, inflammatory response, look at your food choices very carefully. And remember, make sure that you put yourself through your own litmus test. Just because a textbook says a food item is good, when you eat it, you might have a negative reaction to it. That's going to drive your stress score up. When you start looking at your hydration levels, take your body weight in pounds, divide it by 2, and that's how many ounces you need to consume over a 10-hour period. So if you're doing these types of things behind the scenes, getting good quality and quantity of sleep, and then getting good quality and quantity of food, you're already ahead of that stress curve. If you maintain proper hydrations, you already are going to lower the stress that the body's trying to face the other elements. You're fed, you're rested, and you're hydrated. Now you can face the stresses of personal, professional, financial, and jump into the athletic realm. So I hope this sheds some light on this subject known as stress. Scott, I want to thank you for the email. I want to encourage you, if you have something that you want us to talk about, do some research on, maybe debunk some suggestions that are out there that you may be frustrated with, please do me a favor and send us all an email. contact@coachrob.com comes directly to us. It gets deciphered by my assistant Jennifer, and then I do the best I can to get it converted into a video as quickly as possible for you. So I want to say thank you for watching the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so and turn on the notifications. We'd greatly appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.